Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So on the table, you see the CZ-P-10. Now the reason why this gun is on the table is I actually just shot it the other day. I put another 75 rounds through it. It handled everything very, very well, no issues at all. So I think I'm going to be putting it back in its rotation for carry. I feel very confident that the gun will perform the way it needs to at this point. This video, however, is about the new shoe that I put on this trigger. Now, unfortunately, right now, there's not a heck of a lot going on with the P-10. Although some people would say that it probably doesn't need to be because it's such a great gun the way it is. However, one of the things that I always noticed about the P-10 was its trigger. One of the things that I never really liked was the safety lever. Now, some people say they don't care about that. Me personally, I do. One of the things that I never liked about the safety lever was the fact that the lever itself does not recess all the way in. And as a result, after shooting several hundred rounds, your finger begins to feel that, and it actually would leave a depression in the finger. Now, with that being said, I started looking around to see if there was any available aftermarket type of shoes or anything available in regards to the trigger. And sure enough, there is. Now, the company that actually makes this right now is called HB Industries. And you can actually find them selling the trigger, I believe, on CZ Customs. So you can check that out, and I'm sure they sell them there. And you can also go to their website. I'll leave a link in the description below. With that being said, I watched their video on YouTube on how they actually put the trigger together inside the P-10, and it seemed fairly easy. So I went out and I reached out to them, and they agreed to actually send me this trigger. So I do want to say thank you to them for doing that. With that being said also, I'm going to give you an honest opinion of what I think about the trigger. At this point, I don't really see anything that's a negative. I will tell you that the trigger is actually very nice. And what I mean by that is you'll notice with the trigger safety, let me see if I can get that into the camera, it actually goes all the way in. Now, for those of you who have a little bit of an issue like I did, you're going to notice right away that your finger feels comfortable and sits comfortably on the trigger. Also, you'll notice the shape. It is a flat trigger with a little bit of kind of a lip at the bottom. So when you go and touch the trigger, your finger will sit smoothly right on there. So there's no searching for the correct position. Instead, as soon as you bring your finger over, you'll rest comfortably on the trigger shoe. So that's actually very nice, and that's something I actually was looking for in the trigger. With the package they send to you, they're also going to send you a choice of 2 different striker springs. They also give you a little bit of a chart, and the chart basically describes the 2 types of springs they give you. They give you the 3-pound and a 3.5-pound spring. Now, of course, the factory is 4.3 pounds. I decided to choose the 3.5 pounds only because I didn't want to get too light. Because I was worried about light strikes, that type of stuff. But the 3.5 pound works perfectly. It doesn't have any issues as far as I know, and I'm going to keep using it at this point. So that does give you a nice little option there. Now, the trigger. The trigger does make I would say a slight improvement. It's not a massive improvement because keep in mind, it's just the trigger. There's nothing else involved with this. And of course, a striker spring. But it doesn't make a huge reduction in poundage. You don't really need that anyway because the P-10 has a great trigger to begin with. This just gives you a little bit more comfortability with the trigger. Now you'll notice that the take-up is basically the same. There's no big difference there, and you can see it's nice and firm. But the noticeable difference that I found with this trigger, now again, it could be the shape, it could be anything, was that when you pull back on the trigger, at least on my P-10, I always notice there's a little bit of play afterwards. In this case, once you hit the wall, it breaks clean. There is no movement at all. There's no creep in the trigger, and I think that's an excellent thing. Now, this gun has about 1,200 rounds through it, and even after all that shooting, I always felt a little bit of I guess you could describe it almost as a grinding when you pull the trigger. Now, it's a good trigger and all, but I always wondered if it could be improved. Now, with this, the reset, nice and crisp, kicks your finger out a little bit, but not too harsh. And then, of course, your break with no movement again. So again, extremely, extremely clean trigger. For me, I have to say this was an improvement that I was I really didn't know if I wanted to do because, like I said, I felt the trigger is already good enough. But I feel like this improvement on this gun has made this gun even better. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. If you want, you can always reach out and buy one from them and test it out yourself. The process is quite simple. Basically, you're going to take out 4 pins here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 3 roll pins and the 1 push pin. I will tell you, these 3 were easy to take out. This one was not. This was a pain in the rear end. I actually broke 1 punch and then bent the other one trying to get this roll pin out. So I don't know how they got it in there, probably pressed it in, but it was a pain in the rear end. With that being said, once all the pins are removed, everything comes out very easily. All you have to do is take the it's a little push pin with your shoe here that's connected to the trigger bar, and you just basically put a little pressure on that with a punch. You can use any type of punch, plastic or metal, and it'll come out. And then once it comes out, you attach the shoe, push the pin back in, and you're good to go. And then of course you just want to test it to make sure it works. Do I think this trigger is too light now? Absolutely not. Again, it's basically the same trigger, just with a different shape on it. And just to see what the pull poundage is on this, let's see what I come up with. Let's see. So the first pull is 4 pounds, 10.8 ounces. So I'm going to do this 3 times and we'll see what the average is. And that one came out to 5 pounds, 4.5 ounces. And the last one. Well, that one's super light. So I don't know if that's correct. That's 3 pounds, 3.7 ounces. So let's see what the average is. 4 pounds, 6.3 ounces. That last one was, I think, a little off. I think it was too light. So let's say anywhere about 4.5, maybe slightly under 5 pounds. But nonetheless, I think that's still a good trigger weight for a carry gun. At this point, I don't think there's going to be too many more upgrades I'm going to do to this handgun. I think it is great as is. I really would recommend, if you really like to have a better shape on the trigger because you don't want the little safety lever hitting your finger too much, I would totally recommend this as a very affordable upgrade. I think they sell it on their website for about $69. And I think that's a good price, and it's a decent upgrade. So definitely check out HB Industries. Again, thanks to them for sending this out. I, again, loved shooting it. I didn't have any issues with it. At the end of this, I'm actually going to roll in some footage so you can see just how accurate this gun is and just how comfortable it was to shoot. So I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe out there, and as always, freedom is never free.
P-10C. Not bad.
Here we go. 5 rounds. Come on, it is 20. 5-round burst. Oh, 5 rounds. You did this the other day.
Five.